Pour hydrogen peroxide on a rust stain and walk away for 20 minutes, and you didn't clean anything. You just made the rust worse. I've watched guys do this in shop bays for years. Grab the brown bottle off the shelf, splash it on a bolt or a stain, and call it done. Then they come back mad because the spot is darker, the metal's pitted worse than before, and now they think peroxide doesn't work. It works. You just used it like it's bleach, and it's not bleach. It's a completely different animal, and if you don't understand what it's actually doing at a chemical level, you're either wasting it or damaging whatever you're trying to fix. Mechanics keep this stuff in the shop for a reason that has nothing to do with what most cleaning videos tell you. They're not using it to make things sparkle. They're using it because it does something specific. It breaks down organic buildup, it lifts certain stains that bleach can't touch, and it does it without leaving the residue bleach leaves behind on metal and rubber. But the way they use it, the timing, the concentration, the surface prep, none of that gets passed down unless somebody physically shows you. I've picked this up over 20 years of cleaning everything from garage floors to hospital equipment, and I'm going to walk you through what actually works, what actually ruins your stuff, and why most people get this backwards. Problem. Here's what happens in a normal household or shop. Somebody's got a rust ring on a countertop, a blood stain on fabric, mildew creeping up a grout line, or grease baked onto a tool that's been sitting for months. They reach for peroxide because somebody online told them it's a natural miracle cleaner. They pour it straight on, maybe scrub a little, and either nothing happens or the spot changes color, and they panic. The real problem isn't that peroxide doesn't work, it's that peroxide is unstable the second it's exposed to light, heat, or certain metals, and almost nobody accounts for that. That brown bottle isn't brown for style. It's blocking UV light because peroxide starts breaking down into plain water the moment it hits sunlight. So if you've had that bottle under your sink for 8 months, or you poured some into a clear spray bottle last spring, you're not cleaning with hydrogen peroxide anymore. You're cleaning with mostly water and a fraction of the active ingredient. People don't notice this until they compare a fresh bottle to an old one side by side, and by then they've already decided the product is useless. The other layer to this, and this is the part that trips up even people who work with their hands for a living, is that peroxide reacts differently depending on what it touches. On organic material, like blood, sweat stains, or mold, it foams and breaks the material down. On metal, especially iron and steel, it can actually accelerate oxidation if you leave it sitting too long without rinsing. That's the rust getting darker problem I mentioned in the hook. It's not bad luck. It's basic chemistry that nobody explains before they hand you the bottle. But there's one habit almost everyone has that makes every single one of these problems worse, and it's not even about the peroxide itself. Mistake 1. Storing it wrong and not knowing it's already dead. This is the mistake I see more than any other, in homes and in shops. People buy a bottle of 3% hydrogen peroxide, use a third of it, and stick it back under the sink or in a cabinet near a window. 6 months later, they grab it for a stain and wonder why nothing happening. Peroxide degrades under light exposure, and it degrades faster once the seal's been broken and air gets in every time you open it. A bottle that's been opened repeatedly and stored somewhere with any light exposure can lose a significant chunk of its potency within a couple of months. By the time people notice it's not working like it used to, they've already had the bottle open for way longer than that, and they've completely forgotten it's a time-sensitive product, not a shelf-stable one like most cleaners. The reason this mistake is so common is that nothing about the bottle screams, "This expires functionally, not just on paper." People are used to cleaning products staying just as strong until the printed expiration date. Peroxide doesn't work that way. It's actively decomposing from the moment it's manufactured, just slowly if it's sealed and kept dark. Once you introduce light and repeated air exposure, that decomposition speeds up dramatically. I've tested this on the job more times than I can count. Grab an old, half-used bottle, grab a sealed fresh one, do the same stains side by side. The fresh one works in minutes, the old one barely fizzes. The fix people usually try, buying a bigger bottle so they don't run out as fast, actually makes this worse because now it sits open even longer before they finish it. Bigger isn't better here. Fresher is better. Mistake 2. Using it like bleach. Same amount, same contact time, same everything. This is the mistake that causes actual damage instead of just wasted product. People have spent their whole lives using bleach for stains, mold, and disinfecting, so when they switch to peroxide, they treat it identically, pour a generous amount, let it sit for a while, sometimes even walk away and forget about it, then come back and rinse. Bleach and peroxide are not interchangeable in behavior, even though people lump them into the same mental category of strong cleaner. Bleach is a stable chemical that keeps working steadily until you rinse it or it fully reacts with what it's touching. Peroxide, like I said, has that short working window. Treating it like bleach means people are either not using enough to actually get through that reaction quickly, or they're leaving it on way past the point where it's doing anything productive. And on certain dyed fabrics, especially in cars, that extended wet time combined with the initial oxidizing reaction can actually lighten the fabric's color in a ring around the original stain. So now instead of one stain, you've got a stain and a bleach-like halo around it that's much harder to blend or fix. People assume the peroxide caused that lightening because it's strong, when really it's the exposure time that did it, not the product itself. On metal tools and parts, the bleach habit mistake causes the rust acceleration problem from earlier. If someone's used to letting bleach sit on a stubborn spot for 10 or 15 minutes, because that's just how they've always treated tough stains, and they apply that same habit to a rusted bolt or a corroded hinge, they're extending peroxide's contact time well past the point where it's helping and straight into the range where it's catalyzing further oxidation. They rinse it off, see the spot looks different, and often assume it's improved when they check it wet. Then a day later, once it's dried, the rust has actually spread or darkened. Mistake 3. Mixing it with other cleaners to boost it. This one's dangerous, and it comes from good intentions. Somebody's stain isn't lifting fast enough with plain peroxide, so they think, reasonably, if a little works, more will work better, and they start combining it with vinegar, ammonia-based cleaners, or dish soap with bleach residue still in the bottle, trying to make a stronger mix. Mixing hydrogen peroxide with vinegar is probably the most common version of this mistake because both are marketed as natural cleaners, so people assume combining them just doubles the natural cleaning power. What actually happens is the two react together and form peracetic acid, which is a genuinely harsh corrosive compound. It's used industrially as a strong disinfectant, but it's not something you want forming unpredictably in a spray bottle under your sink, and it can irritate skin, eyes, and lungs a lot more aggressively than either ingredient does on its own. People don't realize this because both bottles say safe and natural on the label individually, and nothing on either bottle warns you about what happens when they combine. Combining hydrogen peroxide with ammonia-based cleaners is worse, and it's more common than people think, because a lot of glass cleaners and multi-surface sprays have ammonia in them without it being obvious from the front label. That combination can produce toxic fumes. I've had guys on maintenance crews get lightheaded and start coughing in enclosed bathrooms or utility closets when they sprayed a glass cleaner right after using peroxide on a nearby surface in a space with no airflow, without even intending to mix anything. The chemicals didn't even touch directly. The fumes from each lingering in a small room were enough to react. The instinct behind this mistake makes sense. When a home method isn't working fast enough, people want to escalate it rather than accept it might need a different approach entirely. But peroxide isn't a base you build a stronger cleaner on top of. It's a specific tool for specific jobs, and if it's not cutting through something on its own, the answer is almost always technique or concentration adjustment, not adding a second chemical into the mix. And that brings up the part almost nobody gets right, the actual concentration and technique that turns this from a hit-or-miss cleaner into something you can rely on every single time. Solution. Here's the method I've used across hundreds of jobs, from rust spots on shop equipment to organic stains on fabric and grout. It's not complicated, but every step matters, and skipping any one of them is usually why people end up back at square one. Step 1. Match the concentration to the job. Standard drugstore peroxide is 3%. That's fine for most household stains, light disinfecting, and general grime. For rust, mineral buildup, or heavier organic staining, a lot of pros step up to a stronger solution. But I want to be clear, anything above 3% needs gloves and eye protection because it will irritate skin fast, and it's genuinely corrosive to certain materials at higher strengths. For most of what you're dealing with at home, 3% is what you want. Don't go hunting for the strongest bottle you can find thinking it'll save time. It usually usually just creates a bigger mess to manage. Check the bottle's age before you even start. If it's been open more than a couple months or it's been sitting anywhere with light exposure, test it first. Pour a small amount into a bowl and drop in a pinch of baking soda or a small piece of organic material. If it fizzes actively within a few seconds, it's still got life in it. If it barely reacts, it's mostly water at this point, and you're better off grabbing a fresh bottle before you waste your time on a job that needs actual active product. Step 2. Prep the surface first. This is the step almost everybody skips, and it's the one that matters most. Wipe away any loose debris, dust, or surface grime before you apply peroxide. If you pour it directly onto a dirty surface, a good portion of that short working window gets used up reacting with surface dirt instead of the actual stain or rust underneath. On fabric, this means blotting and doing a quick pre-clean with plain water first. On metal, this means brushing off loose rust flakes and wiping down any oil or grease film. A shop rag with a little degreaser works fine, before the peroxide ever touches the surface. For rust specifically, my grandfather's trick, and one I still use constantly, is combining peroxide with a small amount of baking soda to make a paste rather than pouring it on as a liquid. The paste stays in contact with the rusted area instead of running off, and it gives you a visual cue. You can see it actively working as it bubbles, and you know it's spent once the bubbling stops. Step 3. Apply and time it. Don't walk away. Apply enough to fully saturate the stain or affected area, but don't drown it. On fabric, that's usually enough to see it darken slightly with moisture, not enough to soak through to the other side. On metal or grout, that's a thin, even coat or a paste layer that covers the affected spot completely. Set a timer. I know that sounds excessive for a cleaning job, but this is the single biggest difference between people who get consistent results and people who don't. For most organic stains, 5 to 10 minutes is your window. For rust, you're looking at closer to 10 to 15 minutes with the paste method, checking every few minutes rather than leaving it completely unattended. The second you see the fizzing slow down and stop, that's your signal the reaction is finished. Waiting longer doesn't help, and on metal, it starts working against you. This next part is the one step nobody talks about, and it's the reason half the peroxide doesn't work complaints exist in the first place. Step 4. Agitate at the right moment, not before. Don't scrub the second you apply it. Let the chemical reaction do the initial breakdown work first. Scrubbing too early just spreads the stain around before it's actually loosened. Wait until you're near the end of that working window, then agitate. On fabric, a soft brush or an old toothbrush in small circular motions. On metal or grout, a stiff nylon brush. Never steel wool at this stage, because steel wool can leave behind tiny metal fibers that rust on their own and create new spotting later. Final step is non-negotiable, especially on metal. Peroxide residue left to air dry on its own, even after the active reaction is done, can leave a slight film that attracts moisture and over time contributes to new corrosion. Rinse thoroughly with clean water, then dry the surface immediately with a clean cloth, rather than letting it air dry. On fabric, rinse with cold water and let it air dry away from direct sunlight, since heat and UV can set any remaining trace of the stain permanently if it's not fully rinsed first. Pro tip: if you're working on a rust spot that keeps coming back even after this whole process, the peroxide isn't the problem. It's that you're not fully removing the rust before the metal gets exposed to air again. Rust needs oxygen and moisture to form, so if you're not following up with a light protective coat, whether that's a bit of oil on tools or a sealant on fixtures, you're cleaning the same spot over and over instead of actually solving it. That's the difference between a one-time clean and a job that actually holds. Most people treat the stain and stop there. The ones who don't end up back at it in a month are the ones who protect the surface right after. And that's really the whole game with this stuff. It's never about how strong the bottle is. It's about respecting the short window you've got and not skipping the steps that feel optional but aren't. That's the real story on hydrogen peroxide. Not a miracle cleaner, not useless either, just a product that needs to be understood instead of guessed at. Fresh bottle, right concentration, short controlled contact time, full rinse. Do those 4 things and it'll outperform half the specialty cleaners sitting on store shelves for the fraction of the cost. If you've got a stain or a rust spot that's been fighting you no matter what you throw at it, put it in the comments. I read through those and I'll tell you straight whether it's a technique problem or if you're dealing with something that genuinely needs a different approach. And if you're dealing with rust specifically and want to go deeper on that, I've got a full video breaking down rust removal on tools and metal surfaces step by step. Worth watching if that's the fight you're in right now. Subscribe if this kind of thing is useful to you. I put these out because I got tired of watching good products get blamed for bad technique, and there's a lot more of that to cover.